A warm welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. President Muhammadu Buhari marked his last Democracy Day as president with a Democracy Day address to the nation in which he reminded Nigerians to uphold the values of the purpose of the day. It was an 11-minute speech in which he also admonished that Nigerians deserve a transparent election in 2023.
As we move into the general election campaign season, we must sustain this mature attitude to campaigning and ultimately voting. We must never see it as a do or die affair. We must all remember democracy is about the will of the majority. There must be winners and losers. I will therefore take this opportunity on this very special day to ask all candidates to continue running issue-focused campaigns and to treat opponents with dignity. As leaders, you must all showcase high character and never forget that the world is watching us and Africa looks up to Nigeria to provide example in governance. The tone you set at the top will surely be replicated in your followers.
Well, on the program, we'll be examining democracy under this administration in the last 1 year. Speaking of democracy, Gabon will also be holding its presidential election in 2023, and already candidates are beginning to emerge. Interestingly, President Ali Bongo Ondimba, who had not been seen before COVID, emerged in March this year to declare interest to run. We'll be talking to one of the presidential candidates in the upcoming polls, Mike Joctane. That's Diplomatic Channel in a wrap. Let's check in on other discussions in diplomatic circles, and we'll be right back.
NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said security concerns raised by Turkey in its opposition to Finnish and Swedish NATO membership applications are legitimate. Mr. Stoltenberg made the remark while visiting Finland's President Sauli Niinistö. He said it was important to note that no other NATO ally had suffered more terrorist attacks than Turkey, and therefore its concerns needed to be taken seriously.
The summit in Madrid was never a deadline. At the same time, I would like to see this solved as soon as possible, and therefore we are working hard with our NATO ally Turkey, and also with Finland and Sweden to address those issues that Turkey has raised. And these are legitimate concerns. This is about terrorism, it's about weapons exports. And we have to understand and remember that no other NATO ally has suffered more terrorist attacks than Turkey.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says fighting in Severodonetsk remains severe. He made the comment in his daily video address, saying the Russian army is trying to deploy reserve forces into Donbass. But what reserves can they have now? It looks like they will try to throw into the battle poorly trained conscripts and those who are recruited by covert mobilization. Russian generals look upon their people just as the cannon fodder needed to gain an advantage in numbers, in manpower, in military equipment. And this means only one thing: Russia can cross over the number of 40,000 of its soldiers lost already in June. In no other war in many decades have they lost so much.
Може перетнути межу 40 тисяч своїх втрачених військових.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian troops are holding Russia at bay in the southern Mykolaiv region, patrolling the immediate area of their defensive positions. Mykolaiv is partially occupied by Russia, but remains just one of the two that retain significant access to the Black Sea. Among the band of army servicemen fighting to push Russia's advance in Ukraine's east and south is Vasil, a volunteer who says he joined the armed forces in March, just a few weeks after the Russian invasion on February 24. Finally, Pope Francis has apologized to the people and governments of South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo after he was forced to cancel an African trip next month because of a problem with his knee. Speaking during his weekly address in St. Peter's Square, the pontiff said he was postponing the trip with great regret. He said his decision to cancel the July 2 to 7 trip was taken at the request of the Pope's doctors. They've been treating him for a torn ligament in his knee.
Welcome back. Earlier you heard a bit from President Muhammadu Buhari's final Democracy Day speech on Sunday, where he acknowledged Nigerians deserve a peaceful, transparent process in next year's election. Here's our review of the president and Nigeria's performance on the foreign scene in 1 year. In the year 2021, Nigeria, like many other countries in the world, was still battling the COVID pandemic. But as borders reopened, shuttle diplomacy resumed. In September 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari joined other world leaders for a hybrid UN General Assembly, where while he thanked leaders for their efforts at providing developing nations with the COVID-19 vaccines, he called them out on vaccine inequity. Nigeria asserted her role as big brother by also calling out the forceful overthrow of democratic governments in Mali, Niger, Guinea, and the failed coup in Guinea-Bissau.
There are no easy solutions to these conditions. They require long-term investments and more effective international cooperation.
In November, the president attended the COP26 Leaders Summit in Glasgow, Scotland, where he pledged that Nigeria will cut its emissions to net zero by 2060.
In a bid to commit to transitional change through climate policy, the revised national policy on climate change was approved in June 2021. This will enable us to implement mitigation measures and also strengthen adaptation towards a sustainable climate-resilient development pathway in Nigeria.
Perhaps one of the most significant proof of the country's continued influence in Africa and the world was when U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken paid a state visit to the Nigerian capital, Abuja, where he announced America's foreign policy statement towards Africa.
What happens here in Nigeria is felt around the world. And that, in a nutshell, is why I've come to Abuja. The United States knows that on most of the urgent challenges and opportunities we face, Africa will make the difference. We can't achieve our goals around the world, whether that's ending the COVID-19 pandemic, building a strong and inclusive global economy, combating the climate crisis, or revitalizing democracy and defending human rights, without the leadership of African governments, institutions, and citizens.
As the crisis in Tigray, Ethiopia, worsened, the African Union appointed former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo as special envoy to help find lasting solution to the crisis. The former president met with all sides in the conflict, including leader of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, in an attempt to broker peace.
Many people have been talking to this gentleman who has simply refused to be rational and strategic in his thinking in order to resolve the crisis. Instead, he's playing up to some popular, themes that will certainly not help him. When you tell your people to come out and fight, that they must defend Addis Ababa, by every blow they have. You have not provided these people you want to defend Addis Ababa with any arms. If you have so much arms that you can give to everybody in Addis Ababa, why didn't you give it to your military?
President Muhammadu Buhari himself had attended the inauguration of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in October, where he encouraged him to continue to work for the peace and stability of Ethiopia. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has dominated headlines across the world since February, forcing African leaders to call for peace. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, condemned the killing of Ukrainians and called for leaders of both countries to work towards peace. Nigeria also became preoccupied with evacuating her citizens, mainly students from Ukraine, as fighting intensified. The first batch of Nigerians boarded flights headed back home by early March, following a couple of memos informing students where and what to do.
How are you?
Months after, Nigeria's foreign missions continue to help Nigerians who decided to remain in Eastern Europe to resettle in schools to continue their education. Following the demise of the UAE President Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan in May 2022, President Buhari was one of the few African leaders who paid a visit to the new president, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, to express his condolences and to discuss the growth of strategic partnerships and counterterrorism cooperation. President Buhari has begun counting down to the next transitional government when the presidential election holds next February. All eyes will be on the nation to see whether Africa's giant can uphold the tenets of democracy she so widely preaches. Staying with the theme of democracy, the Republic of Gabon, or Gabon as it is better known, will also be holding its presidential election in 2023. President Ali Bongo, the country's third president who has been in power since October 2009, following the death of his father, Omar Bongo, who led Gabon for 41 years, intends to run again. President Bongo has not been in the best state of health over the last few years, suffering a stroke during an official visit to Saudi Arabia back in 2018. All of that seems to be in the past now, as he showed up at a rally in March this year to the utter delight of his supporters when the polls open next year. One of his contenders will be Mike Joctain, a politician and religious leader, elected flag bearer of the political party La Gabon Nouveau, created in October 2019. My colleague, Mayowa Adegoke, spoke to him during his visit to Dubai recently.
My first question would be, why do you want to be president, and what drives you to want to take up the highest office in the land?
I'm now 49 years old. When you are 49 years old, you are young enough to continue to receive some advices. You still can be guided. But at the same time, at 49 years old, you can be responsible and take charge, of whatever you feel is important. I believe Gabon is a blessed country. It suffers not from a lack of resources, but it suffers of poor leadership. Leadership that is being applied without morality, without competence. This is what I want to provide for my country. I believe a better Gabon is possible. My commitment is to bring a new Gabon where it will be good living for everybody, Gabonese, and also for those who will want to join us and live in Gabon.
Well, that's interesting. I hear you saying out with the old, in with the new. You're talking about potential of your country and what it should be, or what you expect Gabon to be as a country. But you're a man of God, and I'm wondering how that plays out on the politics of things, how it affects your campaign.
I believe the situation of Gabon does not require only good economic skills. It requires some human values, such as the fear of God, and the love of loving the other. These are the qualities I believe I have. Of course, I have an economic agenda, for the country. I'm sure others probably have the same. But being a man of God is, to my understanding, a plus for what I want to do for my country.
So a lot of times you hear people say politics is a dirty game, and I'm wondering, as a man of God, how you're able to navigate that world of politics.
It is because I am able to be myself that I have an original offer to the Gabonese people. So I understand the environment might be evil, as you say, but it is not only true in politics, it is just true in life. And life is made out of choices. I am capable to make choices and to stand, with the choices I have made. So I am now involved in politics. It has been like that for some time now, more than 10 years. And I have been able to keep, my integrity, my character. I am in politics, but I have agreed and accept to be different and to stand with my differences. I understand I'm not to judge anybody, and I don't. I focus on what I believe and what I want for my country.
Well, it's good to hear you talk about the lack of judgment, because I'm wondering how you plan to separate religion from governance if you do become president.
That is a question that I'm often being asked. I'm running for president. I will be the president of all Gabonese, no matter their gender, their ethnicity, because in Gabon you do have 52 ethnic groups, no matter their expression of faith. Gabon is a republic, and are you familiar with the concept of laicity? Of laity? Laicity. It means there is a separation between religion and state. And all religions are equal before the law. I intend to make sure it remains the case in Gabon.
Now, the elections are still many months away, but last month you did say that you aim to build a unified society and called for changes to the electoral process. Why the request? Do you fear that the current process could hamper your chances, or perhaps that it might illegitimize the whole process of the election?
I have called on all the country and the media to address the issue of fair and credible elections. And I have done it now because I have been a direct witness of what took place in 2009 and 2016. In Africa, elections open the doors to crisis. And most of the time, during those crises, some people are put to jail and some people die. I think it is important to prevent that. And to prevent, we must make sure that the outcome of the elections is well accepted. Election must have credibility. So I have articulated 14 points that I feel need attention, to make sure that this time the process does not give room to violence, because the ballot, the vote of the people would feel it has not been respected. So that's all. My talking about this point has nothing to do with my fear of not winning the elections. You know, I have a past, and in my past, you know, I'm not acquainted to failure. You know, so most of the time, when I engage myself into something, I do go all the way. So if you ask me, do you think you have any chances of winning the elections? Of course, I think I do. And if I felt I couldn't win the elections, I would have joined, you know, somebody who can, you know, and I would have offered him, you know, my expertise. I would have joined with him to articulate our ambition, our vision, to make sure Gabon becomes a better Gabon, because that actually is my goal. You know, my goal is not too much for me becoming the president, but is for Gabon becoming a better country for its citizen. Gabon playing the role it has to play among the nations. Now, I believe I have the competence, I have the morality to lead Gabon into that situation, that new situation.
Where is President Ali Bongo Ondimba, and who is ruling the country while he's tending to his health issues?
Okay, President Ali Bongo has been very sick for many years. It is no longer a secret to anybody in Gabon and even outside of Gabon. I'm sure he's attending to his health properly, and I do wish him prompt recovery. To the question who then is ruling Gabon, just like most Gabonese, I will say I don't know. I think it is President Ali, even though he is not in a very good health. He is in Gabon from time to time. He do travel also from time to time. Sometimes he would appear on TV for different functions, but it doesn't change the fact that he is well incapacitated. Okay, and but the decision to continue like that is his decision, and I don't have many comments to make about it. There is institutional calendar. We know there will be some elections in mid-2023. Okay, I am preparing for that time period in which we will contest, you know, and at that time we probably will have more clarity on the real situation of his health. And of course, he will have to make the decisions that he will think is necessary. Can he run again or not? You know, it is not for me to decide. You know, I focus on what I have to do.
My final question would be, how confident are you that you will indeed become the next president of Gabon?
So far, I feel my message is well received. But an election is like a sport game. You can never say that you have won until the game is over. Okay, what I know, I am well prepared, you know, to play the game.
EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was in Kyiv last week and over the weekend as she raised hopes of Ukraine's membership into the continental bloc.
The discussions today will enable us to finalize our assessment. by the end of next week. You have done a lot in strengthening the rule of law, but there still needs to be reforms implemented to fight corruption, for example.
This is where we end Diplomatic Channel this week. I'm always open to your comments. The addresses to reach me on are on your screen. I'm Amarachi Uvani. I'll see you next time.